Welcome to Houston Sports Talk with your host, Robert Land.
Well. The Houston Oilers are back in town. Oh, my goodness. Thanks for checking into the best Houston sports podcast and our live Texans-Jets post-game show. I'm sorry. It just feels like we do this on rerun. It's not the Jets. It's the Lions, because this is what the Texans do. It's the same story. Hey, we're part of the National Bleav Network. Joining me is my contributor, Tom Chavarria, host of the Bullpen podcast. And I mean, Tom, we can blame the officials for the missed call, but the Texans didn't deserve this after another second half offensive meltdown. Rinse, wash, repeat. The offense just shoots itself in the foot every chance it gets.
Look, I know you're hurting. I know the fan base is hurting. I know this was a game that fans wanted to see them get. I know everyone's going to speak to the meltdown. I know everyone's going to speak to Bobby Sloak. We've already got some comments. I look forward to talking about it all. I am going to be glass half full. This is a game that if you watched leading up to this game, fans were like, this team's going to blow these guys out. They were missing key contributors. This was a game that was not supposed to be close. And I saw a lot from this Texans team, minus the second half, which we'll get into. I saw a whole lot that can be positive from this game. I know it sucks. I'd much rather lose it now than in December. That's all I'm saying. If we're going to do this, let's do it now. Let's hurt now, get where we need to go, and then handle business when it's time to handle business.
What's going to change about this offense, about this offensive coordinator, about, the offensive line that just kind of figures out a way to shoot themselves in the, what's going to change? I mean, you say, get it out of the way. I thought they'd gotten it out of the way the last 3 games. I thought we were done with this stuff. I thought after the first half, we were done with this stuff.
There's a guy that's a wide receiver for the Houston Texans, was leading the league in yardage, making CJ Stroud's job so much easier. His name is Nico Collins. And a lot of people felt like with Nico in the building, this game would be different. And credit to I don't want to say credit to Bobby Sloak, because I think he had some failures for sure. But I think if Nico was there, that would have added an extra element. Maybe we're talking about a different game. This shouldn't have been close. They're missing Will Anderson Jr. on the other side. Can you imagine what Detroit wouldn't have been able to do without Will Anderson Jr.? There are key contributors not on this team right now. And for me, I thought that this was going to be a game that they could even show that they could do it without it. Or we would say, hey, they need Nico. They need Will. I think there are growing pains that we need to have. I think CJ needs to look himself in the mirror a little bit. Obviously the miss to Tank Dell, he makes that play. We're not talking right now like this. We're just not. And the first we're going to get into all the things, but obviously I think there's room for growth here.
Yeah. Kyle says Bobby Sloak needs to be gone. Carl says, this team is terrible. We've been like this all year. I mean, yeah, they're awful. 6-4. Yeah, I hate being 6-4. It's terrible to be 6-4 with like 3 garbage teams coming up. But whatever. I guess you must have missed the previous 3 years before D'Amico Ryans and all that. But whatevs, dude. Today's show, by the way, brought to you by MyBookie. Get in on the fun during the heart of the NFL season and early NBA action. The holiday's just around the corner, so make a little extra spending money, which is always nice. And hey, MyBookie doubles your first deposit up to $1,000. That's a 100% deposit bonus. Bet against the Texans and maybe win some money if they're going to do this every week. By the way, look for the promo link and code in the description. Your code is HST, as in Houston Sports Talk. If you do that, you're supporting the show. We appreciate you. And let's get to the action in this one. We're going to talk big picture stuff, but we do this possession by possession to kind of break stuff down, figure out where it went right and wrong. And man, what a start. The play by Jalen Petrie and Jimmy Ward, deflection, diving interception, incredible. Sets up excellent field position at the Lions 33. 2 huge 3rd and long completions, 1 to Tank, 1 to Mechie. Then Sloak, maybe his best call of the possession or best call of the postseason, of the regular season. Mixon, 8-yard touchdown, Tom. That was beautiful. I didn't see it coming. Looked like a pass formation for sure. He fooled me.
Yeah, I thought the Texans got off to a great start. I thought they were going to feed off the energy in the building. Jimmy Ward is an energy much like Joe Mixon. For the people that question Jimmy Ward and why he is who he is in this system on this defense, and maybe he's past his prime, there's no question. In the secondary, I think there are times where he's lost a step. But if you saw his pregame, you saw him fire up these guys. They came out with their hair on fire. He made plays early, and it's those plays that just absolutely energize this team, and they feed off of that. So early on, those guys, Jalen Petrie, this was a guy last season that everybody wanted strapped to a rocket and sent to the moon, and now he's looking to be one of the best defenders on the team.
I'm done believing in this team, says I like that fun. He has given up. Season's over with CJ Stroud. He was incredible. 10 of 11 or 11 of 12 one-score games. But now he can't do it. Career's over with. Get a new quarterback. Let's go get Will Levis, man. Let's get Trevor Lawrence. Let's get somebody who could get stuff done. Anyway, yeah, Stroud had his issues. We're going to get to that. There's no doubt that Stroud had his issues in this game. At this point, I also made note that Jared Patterson had 2 Texans possessions and 2 touchdowns. Next Lions possession, Stingley drops what would have been a beautiful interception, but it doesn't matter because it's a quick 3 and out. And Tom, we got to talk about this great screen pass to Mixon. I've been begging for a well-designed screen. Yeah, we're going to get to some slow maybe issues, or I had maybe one issue for sure, but I just thought that was what we'd been looking for. It's perfect. And Mighty Mouse Mechie with the block downfield. What a game for him. We're going to get back to him, but I loved it. I loved that screen and how it was set up, and that we weren't just doing the old throw it to the sideline screen, which I hate.
Yeah, I really believe that Mixon could be a weapon in the passing game. I think we've sorely needed it to help CJ get the ball out of his hand quick and give him some easy plays to just get some of these yards that I think sometimes he just stands back there and he looks for the home run all the time. These are nice, simple plays that are really effective, and a block here, a block there, and then out the door you go, and then it becomes a big play. So I thought it was great calling early on.
Yeah, this team is a fraud, says Carl. Yeah, total fraud. If you can't beat Detroit, what's Detroit's record again? Tom, it feels like they've won some games. Have they won any games? Are they good?
They've only lost once all season. So, I mean.
Okay. I just was checking. Yeah, when you lose to the Lions by 3 points on a last-second field goal, you must really stink. But anyway, unfortunately, Scruggs gets a holding penalty at the 3. First O-line mistake of the night. Then Tunsil injured on the next play. After a coverage sack, Fairbairn makes it 10-0. It's 4 points that you lost right there. But again, the officials made a little difference in this game. Did you agree with Scruggs' call? Because that basically was the difference in 4 points.
I don't know. To me, the offensive line is just it's not good. And I know people just wanted to call it Kenyon Green and be done. But they moved Scruggs to left guard, and he struggled all night. I think he was in on a couple sacks. Mason struggled. Titus Howard struggled. Laramie Tunsil struggled. Jace Patterson might be the only guy that I'm willing to ride with. And shout out to Robert Land. If y'all weren't listening, he's been pining for this guy since before I knew that he was, this dude that doesn't give up sacks. That might be the only guy I have any faith in right now. But they got to figure it out because that's what we got.
Lions respond. Goff to Laporta, the TD. Toa badly beat. That's the matchup you want if you're the Lions. I'm just going to skip ahead after that. Texans get into Lions territory on a pass interference, but on 3rd and 10, Slowick runs Mixon. They settle for a field goal. And Tom, we're back to Slowick again, especially this call, which is my worst call of the night. They're in a bunch formation on a 3rd and 10. You're not going to fool them with a draw play in a bunch. You don't have enough space for Mixon to do something, even if you do make that call. And why would you make the call right there?
It wasn't a very good call. I'll agree with you on that. I think they really weren't trying to do anything other than line up, run a play, and kick a field goal. I think they had already resided. They didn't want to lose any yards. They were just going to hand it to him. He's going to run into the back of the center.
D'Amico and Slowick sometimes just play with it's kind of a losing mentality at times. And I think they play with a losing mentality at the end of the game. I'll get there, but I'm getting tired of that part. Like, I think D'Amico doesn't seem like he's conservative, but he's a little conservative, especially what they do on the offensive end of the picture. And I don't know if he okayed the Slowick thing, but I'm just saying, like, this is a continual issue with these guys. Another huge play by the Texans D. Denico Autry hits Goff, and Toa makes up for the coverage on the TD and catches it on the ricochet on what was really fun. And I mean, it looked like this was all Texans, and got to give credit also to defensive tackle Tommy Togiai. Never heard of this guy in my life. Low-key defensive line edition, kept the ball in the air like a juggling act and allowed the interception. And that was incredible. Super secret part of that play. After a Xavier Hutchinson first down catch, the Texans settled for a field goal when Robert Woods couldn't make a crazy hard catch I just didn't think it would be fair to say he should have made that catch. It was worth a shot though, and Stroud put it about the only place that he could.
I kind of wish Stroud would have ran the ball. Like, he had to be one guy to get the first down, but I like, a pump fake and a go or something like that. It was going to be a tough play. These are scores you feel like you need to beat a team like Detroit. I think that the field goals were nice. To build the lead was nice, but you knew Detroit was going to make a run. This team is too talented. It's too deep. They were always going to make this game competitive. And the further and further and further you could have put them in the hole, the better off you would have been. And I guess if Robert catches that, we're not talking about it. CJ runs for the first down, we're not talking about it. It could have went either way.
There was a lot of ifs in the Texans game and this game overall. Texans D, great first half, 3 and out. First O-line fail. Looked like Patterson was beat, but it looked more like typical Texan confusion. It appears as though Patterson was making up for somebody else. Can you tell what went wrong there, Tom? Or did you see much?
It's tough, man. When they get guys stunting and stuff like that and twisting, I think the Texans really struggle, and then you really don't know where the blame should go. That's why I just think this line as a whole, it's just got so many holes in it. Today, I think the pass pro was better, but I think the run blocking then suffered. And I'd never seen Joe Mixon so frustrated. And this is our hype guy, and he's throwing stuff. So I know he wanted really badly to perform, in prime time. And it's just tough because I feel like CJ was the other way when they were run blocking, not pass blocking. He's like, look, give me some time and I'll do some things. If they would have been able to open holes for Mixon, then maybe he's having a bigger game.
Yeah, and give the Lions credit. I mean, they're good against the run. The Texans have faced some teams that are not good against the run. They get 100 yards against the Patriots or the Colts, not the same as the Lions. There's a reason why the Lions are who they are, because they do things right. And they've got a good run defense. If you're going to beat them, you were going to beat them in the past. So Texans get a 3 and out. A rare, great punt, though, by Tommy Townsend, Kadar Holman. Great coverage tackle. I just thought I'd shout those guys out. Wow, the Texans D, just a huge first half. Another 3 and out. And then Mechie, back-to-back catches. 17-yard laser to Dalton Schultz. And that sets up this, Tom. It's all about John Mechie. What a touchdown catch. Welcome to the NFL, John Mechie.
This is something that, Texans fans have been waiting for a long time. Everybody that's followed John Mechie since he was drafted knows the story, found out or blew out his knee in the championship game, was probably going to be a first-round draft pick if that doesn't happen. Because he blows out his knee, the guy, gets diagnosed with leukemia that they probably don't – or I'm sorry – yeah, it was leukemia, right?
Yeah, leukemia, yes.
That they don't find if they're not doing the check for all the stuff. And he's just been battling his way back little by little by little. I think you're finally starting to see a guy that's all the way back. And it's a perfect time for the Texans because clearly they could use another guy that they could fit into this offense to be a capable, target for CJ Stroud.
Carl says, y'all believing in false hope. This team is not a contender. Robert Oliver says, heads need to fall. Yeah, everybody is just, I mean, if somebody told you before the game started, the Texans were going to lose on a last second field goal, Nico Collins isn't going to play. Will Anderson's not going to play. Okay. And the Texans were putting out there a whole new offensive line, new guard, new center. Those guys hadn't played this year. You would have said, that doesn't sound too bad. But it's just how they did it. I get it. But, they were close on a million plays. This is the NFL. And they didn't look like they were outclassed in this game. Let me also make that point. So, by the way, 4 catches, 64 and a touchdown for Mechie in the first half. Before we talk the second half, quick reminder, if you're new to Houston Sports Talk, we go live after every Texans game. Make us a part of your routine. After Texans game, share your thoughts on YouTube. Click the like button to subscribe, or click the like button to support the show, but also subscribe as well on YouTube and listen on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast app. All right, back to the action. Chavarria Lassiter gives Goff his third pick of the half on the Hail Mary. So third quarter, Stroud, just don't do something stupid. And he does something stupid on the very first play from scrimmage. If you guys want to get mad at the offensive line, it's starting to be time to get mad at CJ Stroud. It's a throw that he rarely makes, but Tom, it was a killer because you basically gave him 7 points eventually. Eventually.
Yeah, it needed to be a back shoulder throw. It wasn't. The cornerback just sat down on it. It was something you would see of a rookie QB not seeing what the defense, was doing to him. And they baited him into it and he made the throw. It's a rare mistake that CJ does make, but I think we forget sometimes that he's human. I think a lot of the times we just expect greatness and we look away when he makes mistakes. The second half that we're fixing to get into was a lot about CJ Stroud. The first half, I think if you watch CJ Stroud, he got rid of the ball quick. There was no trying to hold on to the football. It was no trying to make these killer home run plays. He took what the defense gave him and he just marched methodically up the field. And in the second half, he didn't do that.
I got a hard time believing Tank Dell just wasn't open much in the second half. Let me make that point too. That's a little like, what's going on with him? Because there were open guys at times in this game that were out there for short plays, and he would make the quick hitters, and then he would hold it. Luckily, after that interception, Chavarria Lassiter, what a game. Second interception, great interception. 2 interceptions on his last 2 possessions right there. But then the Texans go 3 and out. Laporta kills the Texans again, this time against Eric Murray. The catch at the 3. Montgomery punches it in. But Tom, Jalen Petrie blows up the 2-point conversion. And you know what? Not only was I impressed, it's over with. I can't get mad at this guy much anymore. Collinsworth and Tirico were even ready to give him an early Thanksgiving turkey leg, like he was, he was doing it on John Madden's day on Thursday or so on Thanksgiving.
Look, Jalen Petrie took a lot of heat from Texans fans for what a lot of people thought was a pick that they wasted. He made a bunch of tackles his rookie season, then kind of regressed, and this guy just wasn't cutting it. Fast forward to this season, they put him in sort of a different position. He's just not out there playing center field because he's really not good at it. Now he's able to fly around, sort of like this hybrid, nickel corner, linebacker-ish guy, and it's perfectly built for what he wants to do, and he's instinctive, so it just looks so fluid and natural, and he's everywhere, and he's making plays all over. Jalen Petrie is becoming a player that they can't afford to lose because he just disrupts so much what the offense is trying to do.
Dalton Schultz haters need to earmuff it right now because he made a really big play, wide open catch, but then Stroud waits too long on this throw to a wide open Tank. And this is really, to me, if we're going to get to why the Texans lost this game, I don't know how he didn't see a wide open Tank Dell. You look at that replay, he was wide open and Stroud just waited and waited and waited. And this is the NFL, guys. They're fast.
For me, the second half was more about CJ Stroud than it was about anything else. And if CJ was able to do the things that he normally does, they win this football game. And we're not talking about the 5 turnovers, and we're not talking about, a missed field goal or whatever. All of these things come down to his ability to play at the level that he considers himself, that we consider him. And then they win these games because when it comes down to it, to beat elite, talented football teams, your quarterback has to play elite. He has to play well. And I don't think CJ would say the second half he played well.
Yeah, beast mode is telling me I'm being a jerk, but dude, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just being honest with you. This didn't look like a joke. This wasn't a team that was run off the field. This wasn't the Jets game. It's a whole different story. The level of competition is a whole different story. You played maybe the best team in the NFL, the team that's playing the best in the NFL right now, for sure, with all due respect to the Kansas City Chiefs. But the Chiefs are like having an inch out every game. The Lions are killing people. So yeah, no, I'm just being honest with you people. By the way, Stroud, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, this is probably his worst 2 interceptions in one game that we've seen. Not just having 2 interceptions, but having 2 this bad. I mean, both of them were, Davis Mills bad. Let's put it that way.
Oh, I agree. And that's the subject of my optimism. If you told me they lost this game because they could not defend the Lions, or because their guys weren't getting open or couldn't catch, they were dropping footballs, I would be upset. If you told me Mixon fumbled, if you told me, the penalty thing was an issue, I would be upset. To me, this is on CJ Stroud. And I don't have any fear in my mind that CJ Stroud can play better. That's not a thing for me. If I thought CJ couldn't be any better than he is, then I would have cause for concern. Then I would be worried about what their division looks like, or who they've won and who they haven't beat. But to me, I think the CJ Stroud is struggling right now. And I feel that when he gets right, you're going to see this team put up crazy numbers. And with the defense playing the way the defense is, they're going to be really good.
Yeah, this is one of the best defenses in the NFL. And they just got worn down in this game. Josh has 2 straight second half collapses. Is that not concerning? It's concerning to me. Of course, like, you don't want that to happen. But again, they've had all of these great last second wins. They just happen to be having some last second losses now. And, stuff's going wrong, but it feels like you can correct some things. And we're going to get into that in just a second. We're coming back to that. But I mean, Josh, if you've given up on the season already, you've given up on D'Amico and Stroud, the 2 leaders of this team. Have you? If you've given up on them, then okay, that's fine. Just let me know, because, there's a lot of talent out there. You've given up on you've given up on a defense with Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, Danico Autry, who, by the way, coming on pretty strong. I didn't mention that in the interception, but after the 2 sacks last week, imagine what it's going to look like with him and Will and Danielle all out there at the same time and healthy and, not suspended and all that garbage. Azeez, that dude's pretty good. Don't put him in coverage. We're going to get to that. But on a big play like that. But Azeez, Stingley nearly had the interception. I mean, there's talent everywhere. Lassiter is coming into his own. I mean, young guys coming into their own left and right on defense. And on offense, you still have Stroud. You still got Mixon. Even with the rough game, you still got Nico. This is not over yet. Let's see what happens a little bit when your playmakers can do their playmaking stuff. By the way, next drive, Goff tried to outdo Stroud, gave it right back to Kalen Bullock, but that's another really it's great interception. And that's another good sign. 3 interceptions, Tom, in their first Sunday night game for rookie secondary guys.
I agree. I think that when you look at what this defense is able to do, and again, if you don't feel like the offense can get any better, I understand. I Bleav that CJ Stroud can play better. I Bleav that the offense can play better. And if you're able to tell me that this defense can pressure the quarterback and get 5 interceptions on Jared Goff, who had 4 interceptions the entire season, I can't help but be optimistic, because that's gonna travel. Now, obviously injuries happen and things happen, and if this team isn't whole, then maybe that's an issue. But I think when you get Will Anderson back, when you get Foley back, who was out, I think the 4th quarter, when the Lions actually started to run the football a little bit, there were things that happened in this game. Kamari Lassiter gets dinged up. Now all of a sudden, Amon St. Brown is able to get loose for a couple plays. Like, I Bleav that there's a silver lining in this game, no matter how bad everyone's hurting because they didn't win it.
Yeah, and Philip says the offense is pathetic. Yes, it is pathetic. But again, hold that thought. Don't let me forget this, Tom, because I'm going to come back to the offense in just a second. Unfortunately, Lassiter gets the concussion right before the INT. Friendly fire from Jimmy Ward. Well, Jimmy Ward is not getting injured. He's hurting his own guys. Come on, Jimmy Ward. Stop doing this. You're killing us either way. Just stay on the field and don't hurt anybody. Can you do that for like one game? Just one game, do that. Anyway, Lassiter He's at least going to miss next week. So let's go to the next Texans drive. All right. Do I have to go to the next? Do I have to keep doing Texans drives? Because it's not fun. The O-line regresses. Scruggs picks up a second holding, which from what I could tell, I just thought it was nitpicky. I mean, they didn't do a zoom in on the replay. They didn't give us a real replay. But from what I saw, because I looked at it a couple of times, why they weren't showing us that. They were showing the Lions player getting hurt and helped off the field. It just didn't look like anything. But then Shaq Mason turnstile allows a CJ sack. I mean, Mason wasn't terrible. He was better this game, but that was a bad look on that play. Stroud also, he's got to come up with better halftime speeches, Tom. These second halves, they're just terrible. I mean, at some point you would figure by accident, like even a squirrel that's blind, that's the old saying. We do visually impaired now, finds a nut. We got to figure out a way to do something in the second half. This is kind of getting ridiculous. This is a second half problem. They were on a 46-point pace at the half. Think about that. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. But again, I can't help but look at, the leader of this team or one of the leaders of this team. And I want to lay it at his feet. As much as we can nitpick about, a couple penalties here, obviously the offensive line for me is a concern. I think CJ is starting to really let the offensive line bother him. They spoke to it at length on the broadcast. I feel like he's got to get over that, or they have to call plays. Him and Bobby Sloak have to get together and make him feel comfortable in the pocket. Because when he's on time, this team can compete with anybody. Now, when he starts to shuffle his feet, when he gets happy and he doesn't make these simple throws and checkdowns that I think he should make, then you see plays get busted up. You see them in 3rd and long. You see them not be able to convert first downs, and then they're punting the ball back to the other team.
David Garcia says something I want to get your reaction to, Tom. What do you think? He says CJ cannot do 5 to 7 step plays with good defenses. He doesn't like rolling out where he can make plays. He wants to stay in the middle to make throws. He's better throwing on the run, David says. Do you agree with that?
I think he can. I think those are things that he can do. I think in a perfect world, he shouldn't have to, because he's got options at the lower levels. I don't think everything has to be a home run. I think if he mixes that up a little bit more and he takes the simple checkdowns, we're not talking about a 5-step drop or a 3-step drop or him having to roll out.
Yeah, you just said exactly what I was thinking. If he would just sometimes get rid of the ball quickly instead of waiting and waiting. Like I said, Tank Dell and John Mechie are quick guys getting in and out of cuts. I cannot leave. I mean, go find the all 22. You can put it up on my timeline on Twitter and show me that nobody was open. It's not his fault. Blah blah blah. My bet is there were some guys open. Tank Dell might have been open. John Mechie might have been open. I don't know what he was waiting for, but again, Nico Collins will be back next week. So we'll see if anything changes there. Maybe that's just what he needs. That's his blankie at this point. The Texans D handles business again, but the Texans neck shot kind of killed when Cade Stover, who's been unspectacular, and I'm being kind to him, his rookie year, the blocking's not good. When you're dropping passes too on a 15-yard, what would have been a first down catch, it looked like, that's not good. Another pathetic offensive possession. Lions walking back down the field, easy touchdown. And Tom, at this point, as I'm watching the game, I was like, I knew it was coming, because the offense was giving the defense no help. They're just like on fumes at this point.
Yeah, it was a lot to ask. The defense was on the field a ton in the second half, and you just can't keep having 3 and out after 3 and out after 3 and out. That's why I feel like, it's interesting too, because in the 2-minute drill, you see them make these plays. There's a play that we're going to get to where I feel like that play could be open every time if they wanted it to, just because it's an easy 5 yards. It's so hard to contain. And I just don't see it enough. And then you get behind the sticks and okay, 50 seconds later, we're punting the ball back, and you're running that defense out there that did such a good job containing monsters in Jamari Gibbs and David Montgomery and Amon St. Brown for so long.
Yeah, 150 yards, 160 a game, I think they average, the Lions do. And look, Texans shoot themselves in the foot again. And I'm about at the point right now, Tom, of saying Cade Stover, if you could find anybody else out there, he has a crushing false start on second down. Tunsil's blown by on third down, that's a whole other story. Can't do much about Tunsil. But, I mean, Stover, it's a kill. You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say this. This might surprise people. The biggest injury this year was Brevin Jordan, without question. He's killing us on the offensive, not having him on the offensive line and blocking and helping out and all that sort of stuff. And he's also killing us in the passing game because Schultz has been underwhelming and Stover's been underwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. For me, I kind of don't want to lean into Cade Stover because I don't think Cade Stover was brought in to start from day one and be this guy. I thought he was going to be a project that they were going to work and groom over time.
Yeah, but there's 53 guys on an NFL roster, and you can't afford to go, okay, you're a project as a tight end. I mean, you got Schultz and you got what else? I mean, and Schultz and Jordan, but if one of those guys goes down, which, it's NFL, somebody goes down typically, one of your position groups, somebody's going to go down. You're going to need help. So I don't like drafting projects at this point, especially if this team looked like a team that you thought was like a Super Bowl team. Why are we drafting a project?
Because he's the quarterback's best friend. To me, that's the only reason Cade Stover's on this roster, because CJ spoke highly of him. And I don't think he's a bad player. I think he can be good. I just think it's a lot to ask year one. I don't think he should be on the field right now. I agree with you. I think Tegan Toriano should be the guy that they have out there. But clearly, Cade's probably the better blocker of the two, which isn't saying much, and that's why you're in the predicament you're in. Maybe don't run so much two tight end is my fix.
Yeah, that's another thing. I saw it again tonight where they're just blocking with these guys nonstop. There's too many bunch formations. Like the Bobby Slowick thing, I get it. There's some stuff that I just do not like. But anyway, after the Tunsil blow by, which was not good, Titus, I think, was he getting paid by the Lions or something like that? Not only does he stop blocking in the middle of the play, but then he stripped Stroud of the football. I mean, could you do anything more wrong? Titus Howard is he's like the Bad News Bears. It's like, can we get the dude that's Bad News Bears guy out of the game and quit having him help the other? I'm tired of him. I just wish Blake Fisher could put some pressure on these guys. That's a problem too. Those were two picks in Fisher and Stover that I'm not liking as much as I like Lassiter and Bullock, as much as those guys have looked all right. Boy, I mean, you're getting nothing from the other two.
Well, I think Bobby Fisher's in a tough spot. I think it's clear that they only want to use him in tackle. I don't think we've seen him at guard even in the preseason. So I don't even think that's an option, even though I think he could play it. And plus you're playing these two tackles all the money in the world. You should play them. It shouldn't be a question of whether or not to play Tunsil or Howard because you're paying them like stud left and right tackles. Again, that falls on Nick. I think Nick probably would tell you he probably made a mistake there. He did not get the right guys, whatever the case may be. I don't have, like I said when we started, I don't have a ton of faith in a lot of these guys. They just have to figure it out because there's no one else walking through the door. And I Bleav that this team, if that can get fixed, whatever the fix is, the rest of it looks really good. I know everybody wanted to blame Kenyon Green. He was the absolute problem, and he wasn't good. But I thought it was way bigger than him. And all that tonight did was kind of confirm that for me, because the rest of them looked really bad at times too. And Kenyon Green was nowhere to be found.
No question. I mean, Deuce Scruggs had a couple penalties. I would love to see those again and a little bit better angles and what exactly happened on both of those, because yeah, there was some questionable calls. Let me put it that way in this game. And the last one we're going to get to in a second. By the way, you guys killing the Texans. It could have all changed in just a second. Just a second. Hold on. Texans D exhausted now, though, after being gashed with some big runs. They actually hold up toe-to-toe, and Jimmy Ward make a great play along the sideline, force a 58-yard field goal. I mean, look, the Lions had to make some big-time stuff happen. 58-yard field. It's their longest field goal in history. The guy makes it by like a millimeter. Like, guys, we're talking about playing the best team in football right now. And they're just having just like little lucky things happen. And the Texans, I grant it, they've shot themselves in the foot, but there's something that's coming up here that wasn't the Texans' fault. And I'm going to get to it. Texans, one last chance to get it together offensively. The third down pass interference. Come on, refs. I mean, that's the difference in the game. They get the first down. They run out the clock. You figure Fairbairn makes a shorter field goal. It's over with, right, Tom?
100%. And I think if it's anybody but Xavier Hutchinson, I think if it's Tank, if it's Mechie, I don't know if it's Mechie, if it's Tank, if it's Nico, if it's Diggs, somebody with a little bit more of a rep, they probably call it. The fact that it was your fifth wide receiver, I think that's why they swallowed the whistle. Clearly, pass interference. They replayed it. CJ's looking at it at the Jumbotron. He's begging for it. And it should have been. And then they make that field goal. This conversation is totally different. Can't change that though.
Yeah, they said somebody says, "Oh, they missed a helmet to helmet on with Jared Goff," but I forget. I can't remember what resulted in that possession. So I don't know. I mean, that to me, that's not something that is a game changer like this other deal. But anyway, also. Somebody says, James says, Caserio fumbled the offseason. Yeah, Aziz looks terrible. Danielle Hunter looks terrible. Did Lassiter do anything tonight? The second round pick, the cornerback that you got that everybody said couldn't play outside corner. Did he do anything? Did Kalen Bullock do anything tonight? Was there an interception? Oh, yeah, there was an interception. This is 5 interceptions, 3 by the rookies that they drafted. Just because I'm criticizing 2 picks, it doesn't mean Caserio was a disaster. Every general manager, they get some right and get some wrong. If you're getting more right than wrong, then you're usually a pretty good team. So, and just settle down. Texans D, like I said, boy, they're exhausted. But before I get to that possession, the 58-yard field goal. Tom, I would have gone for it. I thought at the time, this is not me second guessing. This is me first guessing. I would have gone for it right there. You're basically giving them enough time to come back and make a field goal. The defense is gassed at this point. I would have tried to end the game, got the first down so you could kick the field goal. You think I'm crazy?
Here's the thing. What would you have said? Would you have defended D'Amico and Bobby Slowick if they went for it? Because I don't think anybody would have.
If they called a decent play, if Bobby Slowick called a good play, yes, I would defend it because, like I said, I wanted to do that because that way you could end the game. And like I said, your defense is gassed. Jared Goff's a pretty good quarterback. I didn't think he was going to throw a 6th interception. You lost Lassiter already, so you're dealing with backups. In the secondary, which you don't want to deal with. Yeah, I mean, I would not have gassed him because, look, man, I have said over and over again, D'Amico gets too passive late in games. I need him to be more aggressive late. Him and Slowick play like they're afraid of something. Running the ball in Green Bay a couple of times and then throwing the ball, on third down halfway to the goal line. Those guys look like they're afraid at times to just like, hey, let's put the nail in the coffin. They forget sometimes you still trust Stroud. I mean, I know he had some issues, but you still trust Stroud down the stretch of games. He's won so many big games for you in just a year and a half. How could you not trust him at this point?
I mean, I'm not arguing. For me, I can automatically see what would have happened because the entire world would have been like, you've got one of the best kickers in football. At least that's what we think. Kicking a 58-yarder, which he makes in his sleep. He's one of the best kickers in football at over 50 yards. And instead, you roll the dice to potentially, like you said, run out of the clock and do all the things, make them use their timeouts. I get it. But I think the media would have ate him alive, and it would have been poor head coaching. He's a second-year head coach. Maybe he's not the guy, great defensive mind, but can't handle late-game situations. Those are all the things that would have been said if D'Amico Ryans did not kick that field goal and did not convert on 4th down.
Yeah, I would have said if they didn't kick the field goal, I would have said, yeah, that's what you had to do because that's the flow of the game and what was going on. And it's the Lions. You gotta, you gotta out alpha the other alpha coach. And that's what we know. That's what he would have done. And he's looking like a really good coach right now, by the way. We have what's up with the clock management at the end of the game. You're going to have to be a little more clear. Tell me what you're talking about. But just last part of the game, last drive by the Lions. Give me your final thoughts on that particular drive. What happened? Big play, obviously on third down. Did you like Azeez? And was it wrong that Azeez ended up in coverage there? Maybe that would have been Lassiter. I don't know.
1,000%. For me, that play was horrible. If D'Amico has any fault in this entire game, it's that play. And I know it's not fair to lump the game on him on one play, but in that moment, knowing that is their guy, how do you not cover? And he doesn't do it at all. So that's what he's going to say. But how do you not shadow?
I assume it's zone. I assume it's zone. I assume they were playing zone there. But here's the deal. I agree with you, Tom, though, because here's the problem with D'Amico right now. This is an issue. What happened last week towards the end of the game? Who was in coverage that probably shouldn't have been in coverage against a major weapon of the Jets that had the basically knife to the back touchdown at the end of the game? Who was in coverage? Do you remember?
It was Jalen Petrie, I Bleav.
Yes, sir. And nobody liked that. That was a problem with everybody. And this happened a couple of times late in games where like weird coverage situations. D'Amico's got to get better down the stretch. Stroud, obviously, he's in a slump right now. But D'Amico, this is starting to be an issue for him too. Him, Slowick, both of those guys on both sides of the ball, they got to be better late in games.
For me, I get it. Like if you have multiple weapons, like with the Jets game, obviously Garrett Wilson is also, I think, an alpha, and maybe that's where Stingley was on that play. I'd have to go back and look. For me, I thought that the help should have been Kalen Bullock over the top, and then if you would have had double coverage on that particular play, then maybe it doesn't go there. The fact that a wily veteran like I'm struggling with names now, but put the double move on Petrie, got the score. I get it. But for me, with the Lions in the pass game, you've got two guys, and one of them was hurt, and that's Laporta. If Jameson Williamson beats me, so be it. Tip my cap, he beat me. But I would not let Amon St. Brown beat me knowing that that's their number one guy in coverage, in zone coverage with your linebacker. That was just a mistake to me. I think that's a D'Amico thing where he doesn't want to get away from his tendencies. He's like, my defense is good enough in this situation. Well, no, it's not, because Ben Johnson schemed a way to get what he needed, 7 yards for an easy, pitch and catch to St. Brown. You just can't have it.
The question is, why help them by stopping the clock? If they're going to run it out, they're going to run it out. But you had zero control of the game with 50 plus seconds left in the game. So here's what I will tell you. The Lions were not going to run out of time. They were going to have plenty of time. That was not going to be an issue for them. He was calling timeout, I think, for two reasons. He was hoping if they stopped him, they could potentially go down and kick the game-winning field goal and still have time to do that. Second reason is, and we talked about it the whole second half, the defense is gassed. They're gassed, man. And he's trying to get them some energy for these final couple of plays of the game. That part I had no problem with. I've had some issues with when he calls timeouts. No problem with that one, Tom.
I agree 100%. I thought he was really trying to get his offense one more crack at it. And you were right. The Lions were totally content with letting the clock run down to 0. They had 2 timeouts left. They could pick and choose when to stop the clock and get into field goal range if they needed to. I think D'Amico was going, my team's going to get me a 3 and out. I need to give CJ as much time as I can to get into field goal range to give Kaimi one more shot.
This is not a Super Bowl team with Slovak as your offensive coordinator, says Philip. Tom, I'll let you take that one.
I mean, I think it is. I really do. The weapons are there. We question Slowick a lot. I think things need to get better, but I think things need to get better with CJ. And when CJ starts to take singles and doubles, to take a baseball reference, instead of trying to hit all these home runs, then we're going to see the offense really click. I mean, they put 23 points on the board in a half, and I Bleav that you can beat a lot of good teams with 23 points. The one thing that I just can't get over is that we're down on this offense, and they scored 7 more points than Kansas City did today, and Kansas City is 9-0, and it's just about when it happens and where it happens. If you told me that Denver was going to go into KC and hold Kansas City to 16 points, I'd have said, you're smoking some good stuff. There's no way. They've got DeAndre Hopkins and Patrick Mahomes and Kareem Hunt and Travis Kelce. They got weapons everywhere. They should score 30 points, and they didn't. So for me, I think this team can absolutely get better, just like I'm sure the Chiefs will get better. And the defense, I think, is what's exciting for me because it'll travel. I think as the defense finds its stride and you see all these guys gel, great teams that win Super Bowls are built on good defenses. And the Texans have a really good defense.
I am not banking on anything. This is like the Lance McCullers thing, but Christian Harris is supposed to be back by the Miami game. So it's been a killer. Like Christian Harris, look, Henry To'oTo'o, as good a season as he's had, Tom, and we've praised him at times. He's not a playmaker in the same vein as that we saw Christian Harris last year. When you got playmakers, guys that, whether it's interceptions that you see by Lassiter, whether it's sacks, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, causing fumbles like Danico Autry, you get as many of those guys on the defense and you start putting this thing all together. If you can just get all these guys healthy come the playoffs, because guess what? The other teams in the division still suck. They all lost. It's not getting better for most of those teams. And your schedule coming up, as bad as they've been, come on. You got to start winning these games. Dak Prescott's not playing next week, and they're terrible with Dak Prescott. So you do the math. You've got the Titans coming up twice. They're terrible, awful, okay? There's some wins that you should be able to put in the bank. And, once you get to the playoffs, it's just a matter of you got to put together 3 or 4 good weeks, and that's it. And if this team can do it, there's nobody out there that scares the hell out of me. I mean, come on, look around. Look at what's going on in the AFC, guys. It's not like a murderer's row out there. Yeah, the Chiefs, they've won a ton of games, but it's not been pretty for them. I mean, you figure at some point, some of these wins might turn into losses, and, we'll see. They're not blowing anybody out. That offense isn't blowing anybody out this year.
Absolutely not. You talked about Tennessee. Detroit hung 50 on Tennessee not too long ago. So, I mean, when you start to look at the way some of these games have went, the Texans have struggled with the NFC West. All those teams, that might be the best division in football, with the Vikings, the Lions, and the Packers. And they've basically beat everyone else. I obviously, the Jets game, kind of an outlier. I feel like it was kind of an outlier. I think it was their worst game, and it was just a dud. Maybe they were looking ahead to this one. I don't know. But I don't really worry about this team getting to the playoffs and then being able to do something. I think they just got to find their stride, get hot at the right time, and then you go. It happens every year.
Just be glad we're not in the NFC North.
That's what it is. I'm sorry. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, be glad we're not there.
Yeah.
It's a pretty darn good division. They're pretty skippy division over there. Also, you got to remember this too. The Texans, look, Stroud, he was going to have growing pains. Like, you just can't assume that a guy his first few years is going to sail through. There's not a whole lot of evidence of this. So he's starting to make mistakes. Maybe the league's catching up to him a little bit. The offensive line has kind of freaked him out. We got to get his footing back together. I think, Tom, you said the offensive line is still got some issues, but I just didn't feel like was anywhere close to as bad. And the Lions have a pretty decent defensive line. I know they're missing Hutchinson, but still, that defensive line, and there were guys in the middle that are scary guys, and our guys in the middle, for the most part, outside of a couple plays, they handled them. And so, that made me feel there's a lot of stuff that when I look at big picture, it makes me feel better. But I agree with that. If you're worried about Slowick taking you to a Super Bowl, hey, I understand that problem. I am scared of him in big situations. I'm getting worried about D'Amico in big situations, but these are all, they're young at their job. This is D'Amico's second year as a head coach. Andy Reid did a lot of dumb stuff. Just go look at the history. Go read articles about Andy Reid and what the Philly people thought of him after the first few years and what he was doing in big situations, clock management, stuff like that. If you've forgotten, go look at it. He just wasn't Andy Reid overnight, okay? And, Slowick's learning his job. CJ Stroud's learning his job. We got 3 second-year guys at their job, young for their positions too, very young for their positions. So keep all that in mind. And one thing that we haven't talked about at all, we said Joe Mixon struggled, but let me just, I got to give, I was a real cynic of the Joe Mixon situation. I was like, is he a good guy? His history, he's got a weird history. He's older. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Joe Mixon went into the locker room after the Jets game and gave a 2-hour speech, and he's now the captain. And, as Tom Hanks knows who the captain now is, and it's Joe Mixon. And so, Joe Mixon is somebody that I feel like, hey, if we make a playoff run, Joe Mixon's going to have these guys pumped up and ready. And so is some of the other leaders on this team, like Will and Aziz and Stroud and Nico. You got leaders at different position groups, which that makes me confident that this team can do something. It's just, can they get it straightened out, Tom? It's all this little stuff. Can they get it straightened out? Because, they're right there. This offense, once it gets going, it's going to be a tough team. You just got to hope that they can get things going. With Nico and Joe Mixon have played how much together? 5 quarters? 5 quarters.
One entire game together. One entire game. That's crazy.
All right. Well, before we close things out, I appreciate all the comments. I'm jumping on you guys, but trust me, we appreciate you. And I know how it is to be a fan. I'm a fan too. So I get it. You can overreact. You'll say that stuff, but it's just hang in there because there's guys that I'm much more confident in. Look, I lived through Bill O'Brien. This is good. I'm fine. D'Amico's got some issues, but I'm good right now. Before we close things out, by the way, just want to remind everybody to check out Tom on the Bullpen podcast. Go check out his stuff. Really excited to promote what's going on with those guys over there. In case you missed it, watch my conversation with Rockets analyst Frank with Rockets Chop Shop. That was on the show back on Thursday. Great stuff. Still relevant, by the way, from a couple of days ago, because a lot of the same stuff we talked about happened in the Pistons game on Sunday. So, it's all relevant. Tuesday, Steven and I are back for our midweek Texans, Rockets, and Astros takes, everything going on with all the teams. And I want to thank again our new sponsor, MyBookie. Don't forget to double your first deposit up to $1,000. Help us out. Go check them out. Look for the link and the promo code in the show description. Thanks again, Tom. Let's do it again next week.
Looking forward to it.
Monday Night Football.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.
Hey, you can support the show by subscribing on YouTube and commenting on the videos. Listen to Houston Sports Talk on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, and Google. Don't forget to tell a friend and share our show on social media. Spread the word, everybody. Thanks for listening.